Welcome to Cocktails and Capital, the working on your business podcast that feels more like grabbing a drink with your best friend. I'm your host, Sarah Tatum, that best friend. I'm the owner of Tatum Accounting, where we invite our clients to take a vacation from their bookkeeping. In this podcast, I'm going to give it to you straight. Talking points and vague tips, we don't do that here. There's a bunch of noise out there in the entrepreneur community, especially when it relates to finances. And when you're trying to run your business, you just don't have time for that. And I know that you would rather be doing literally anything other than recording expenses and logging into your accounting software. So I'm bringing you practical advice without any of the fluff, just like your best friend would. So turn the volume up, grab your gin and tonic, and let's dive into this week's theme. Hello, my friend. Welcome to episode 6 of Cocktails and Capital. Today we are talking about what steps you should not be skipping as a business owner if you're going to DIY your bookkeeping. We're going to talk about what is bookkeeping, why it is important, how it's helpful to you running your business. We're going to go over 3 of the most important steps what I think are the most important steps of monthly bookkeeping. And I'm going to share some helpful resources that we have over on the Tatum Accounting website and share how you can access those. I do have my cocktail for today. It is Friday. We're recording on Friday afternoon. This is a rum and lemon soda like spritz thing. I don't know. My husband made it. It was very, very sweet of him. But anyway, we're going to get into it. So if you are interested in learning about what you need to be doing for your monthly bookkeeping, then keep on listening and let's get into it. So what is bookkeeping? The boring accounting definition, bookkeeping is the process of recording your company's financial transactions into organized accounts on a daily basis. So you want to be doing it on a recurring basis. You want to take those transactions and record them so that you know exactly where they're going into your chart of accounts. And we did go over that in last week's episode, if you need a refresher course, and do that on a consistent basis. It can also refer to the different recording techniques that businesses use for their accounting. Now, on a more layman's level, bookkeeping can mean so many different things for accounting. It can be accounts receivable bookkeeping, so how you're keeping track of your invoicing. Are you invoicing customers for the work that's being done on their home, or are you collecting payment up front? Are you collecting payment through Stripe and you need to record your sales on a daily basis? Are you paying your invoices to other people on a weekly basis, and do you need to keep track of those things and then pay them in the future, or are you just paying bills as they come in? You know, it's establishing your bookkeeping process and then figuring out how you're going to keep track of things and then doing it in a consistent manner. So there's a little bit more that goes into bookkeeping than just establishing the broader definition of this is what it is and this is how you do it. And it can be trimmed and defined to your specific business and your business structure. And so why is bookkeeping important? There's so many different reasons. Bookkeeping helps you in so many ways. Not only do you, get a better idea of where your money is coming in from and where your money is going. And obviously you're going to track your income and expenses. And so you get a feel of what your spending habits are like. And you get so much less of a chance of double booking your revenue. So if you get a payment from Linda and Linda pays you by Stripe, and the Stripe payment comes in and you record that Stripe payment with, let's just say in QuickBooks, you record it with a receipt. You give her a receipt in QuickBooks. That is going to count in QuickBooks as a source of revenue. So you've already booked, say, $200 in revenue. But when you go in again the next day and you see that bank deposit come in for the $200, now you're going to book a bank deposit for $200 as revenue again. And that is double booking revenue. And so if you are not tracking, again, your income and expenses thoroughly, and you're not following those workflows that are set by either your accountant or your set workflows or the workflow set by the software, it can get very complicated and you can end up double booking revenue, and the same thing follows for expenses. And so you want to make sure that you are keeping an eye on your revenue and your expense numbers and following through with the workflows that are defined by not only your software, but the workflows that you define for your record keeping. You also can stick to your budget so much better if you have a better handle of your bookkeeping, because you will know, for one, how much money you're bringing in, but two, how much money you're spending on certain categories. So it can help you define how much you want to spend on certain categories, but how much you kind of need in your certain operating budgets. And I can give you an example. Like for me, my operating budget for my subscription services is pretty high because I have to provide certain applications in order to provide services for my clients. We provide, subscriptions for QuickBooks under wholesale billing for our clients. And we have a portal that we pay for secure documents. We have workflow management that we pay for. But as far as overhead, like rent, I don't have any rent. I work from home. So that is non-existent in my budget. Meals and entertainment, unfortunately, is pretty low for me. I have very few client meetings. And so I don't get to go out and have client meetings as often as I would really like to, because most of my people are virtual and they're all over the country. So my client budget or my client meeting budget is pretty low. But my dues and subscriptions budget is pretty high. And so if I were to keep track of my bookkeeping, which I do, and I reevaluate my budget on a consistent basis, you could see the difference between my budget as it grows. I will allocate more to my subscriptions and put so much less in my meals budget. And the same thing applies for you. The other thing bookkeeping helps you do is gives you a better understanding of what you should charge for your products and services. So again, with that same budgeting, you'll get an idea of what overhead and your cost of services are that you need to build into your pricing for your products and services. We just put out a great blog article about job costing basics for both products and services. So you can review it and see how, just by reviewing your bookkeeping and being diligent about it, you can use those numbers and better cost your products and services and better price them so that you can make sure that you're getting paid adequately. Because why start your own business if you're not going to get paid enough for what you're putting out into this world? Because you did this for a reason, you're passionate about it, and you want to get paid adequately for the work that you're putting out, right? Right. So the other reasons why your bookkeeping is important, obviously we want to skip tax season woes if an audit ever were to happen. You want to be as prepared as possible for audits. And speaking of preparedness, you're going to be so prepared for any emergencies that come up on your cash flow, because you're going to have an eye on that cash flow. And you're going to have a much easier time with trying to get credit from banks or creditors, and taking on investors if anybody ever wanted to invest in your business, or if you were trying to get investment into your business. It's much, much easier if you have prepared and up-to-date books. The last thing that I want to point out with keeping your books up to date and why it's so important is because you can forecast your revenue much, much easier if you have up-to-date books. And we are actually going to have a really great blog post come out tomorrow all about how to build a forecasting report for your revenue. So check that out. It's going to be linked in our bio on Instagram. And if you want the link for it, you can just DM me or send me an email and I will get that over to you. But yeah, you should definitely check that out. Okay, so let's cover the 3 most important steps in your monthly bookkeeping process. There are so many more steps, but I want to cover the 3 most important ones in my humble opinion. And let's go straight into them. So step 1, you are going to make sure to download all of your bank, credit card, and application statements. And what I mean by application, I mean your Venmos, your Zells, your Stripe, Square, 17 Hats if you're collecting payments through something like that, Dubsado if you're collecting payments through that, anything and everything that you are collecting payments or sending payments through, anything that money is coming in or out of, you should be getting a statement for that. Collect your statements and download them and put them somewhere secure. Like I said last week in last week's episode, put them in a Google Drive file, put them on a external hard drive, put them somewhere where if anything were to ever happen to your computer or to your account, that you can access those documents later on. Now you're probably thinking, Sarah, why do I have to do this? They're always going to be online. I use online banking for everything. It's not that big of a deal. If I need a statement, I can always go back and I can find them. I can get statements from like 2018. I really don't need to do this. Yes, you do. You really do. And I'm going to tell you why. Because things happen all the time. Banks merge with like a minute's notice and you lose your statements. You lose all your transaction history and you're never going to get it back. You can lose your account like nothing, immediate. And fraud happens all the time. Banks get closed. Not only that, but your computer can get hacked. You can lose your statements. And that's why I say an external drive or put it in the cloud. Don't store it on your computer. Security is very, very important. And you want to make sure that you're securing these documents in a safe place. I also do not recommend printing them and keeping them in paper copy because, again, things can happen and you don't want to lose those records. The other reason would really be because in the case of an audit, you want to have those documents, you want to have your source records of your transactions. In addition to your receipts, you do want to have backup that those purchases were actually made. If you don't have a receipt, you can always have your bank statements. So you do want to have your statements for all of those places where money is coming in and going out. The second thing that I want you to do every single month is reconcile. You're going to take all of those statements that you got, and in your accounting software, you are going to reconcile the accounts that you have set up. So you're going to make sure that every transaction is accounted for. There is no double booking of revenue, no double booking of expenses. You've correctly booked all of your revenue and expenses. There's not been any fraud. There's not any missing checks. All the checks that are written have been accounted for. Everything is there and as it should be. And with this, you can use so many different applications. So you can use Adobe PDF to check it off. You can export your statements into Excel and use spreadsheets to color code as you go. You can make this process as efficient as possible and make it less tedious for you. And if you are diligent about your bookkeeping throughout the month, a lot of accounting softwares will actually reconcile as you go. And what I mean by that is they will reconcile your accounting, your transactions that you're matching or that you're clearing throughout the month. They will reconcile them as you go throughout the month. And so by the time you have your bank statement, all you have to do is go in there and double check that everything's been accounted for and just make sure that you're good to go, that there's not been anything double booked. There's not anything that has been overexpensed or there's any fraud or anything like that. You just want to keep an eye on your statement and keep an eye on your numbers. And then the final thing is you're going to review those 3 financial statements and make sure that everything is checking out, everything's matching up, and everything's in alignment. What 3 financial statements am I talking about? I'm talking about your income statement, your balance sheet, and your cash flow. I talked about these last week in episode 5. I also did an entire Instagram story this past week, and you can go to our Instagram. It's saved in our highlights reel if you want further in-depth clarification on how to review those, how they all tie in together. Those are all in our highlights reel, so you can check that out over there. But you want to make sure that you're, if not reviewing that once a week, that you're definitely reviewing that once a month, and making sure that your numbers are looking like they should be, like you expected them to be, and cross-matching that with your budget expectations, your revenue forecast, readjusting your product and services pricing, just kind of reevaluating overall across the board, making sure everything's in alignment. Okay, so the 3 things that we're going to do, we are going to download all of our statements, bank, credit card, application, everything where money is coming in and going out. We're going to reconcile all of those accounts in your accounting software, and we are going to review the 3 financial statements. We do have on our website, under the ebook section, we have a monthly bookkeeping checklist. That would be super, super helpful for you to download. It includes all of these steps. It also includes weekly steps and some more steps that are really helpful for keeping track of all your bookkeeping if you're going to DIY. If you guys have any questions about anything I went over today in this episode, please send me a DM on Instagram or send me an email at hello@tatumaccounting.com. And I am so, so happy to answer all your questions anytime. I am really, really happy that you tuned in today, and I will be back next week, and I will talk to you then. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe and follow Tatum Accounting on Instagram. You can also do us a huge favor by leaving a review. It's the best way to support us. Let's catch up next week, same time, same place.